everybody. I'm very, very, very excited. This is the first official success story of the 2024 batch cycle. We've had some pre-match success, but here we are. We're finally at the day where everybody knows where they've matched. They're looking forward. The plans are beginning, and I'm very excited for the guests that we have today. My name is Amanda. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the Director of Communications, and I'm going to let our amazing introduce yourself.
Thank you, Amanda, for the opportunity. I'm very, very excited to be here. So first, to introduce myself, my name is Jessie Naranjo. I am an IMG that graduated in Ecuador. I graduated in 2017, and the journey has been long, but I finally made it, and now I matched during this cycle in UTMB. So, okay, yeah, so I finally matched. I'm very, very happy. And I matched at UTMB in Galveston, Texas, which is where I have been living for the last year. So I'm pretty excited about it.
And what specialty did you say you matched into?
Pediatrics.
So Pediatrics. Oh, yeah, obviously
yes.
That makes sense. That's super exciting. And it's nice that you got to be, staying in the same area. I'm sure that helped, with your connections and everything. So taking it back a little bit, though, when did you decide that you wanted to pursue a residency in the US? Like, was it for sure that why you went to an international medical school, or like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so after I graduated, I knew I wanted to do my residency outside Ecuador. I wanted to travel somewhere else. So because I was born here in the United States, I just decided to come here since I didn't need a visa or anything like that. I just thought it would be a little bit easier, at least from that side. So that's why I decided to come. And after I graduated, I came straight here. That was the end of 2017, December.
Mhm.
And then I started my journey here in the United States. My first city was Chicago. I took like some test preps to prepare for the exams. And so it was step one. Step one was the most challenging for me. And it took me some time. Like even my English wasn't very, very good at the beginning. So I had to improve that first and at the same time study for step one. And so that's what I did for the first 2 years that I was here. Then I decided to work because it's very important. Like then I learned it's very important to do something else while you are studying. Like you cannot just sit and study. So I worked not only in like at the beginning it was as a clinical care coordinator, so it was like a different thing. But I think it still helps, like anything you do during this period gives you some kind of experience and a different point of view as well.
Did you find that it was hard though, like I hear that a lot of people ask us a lot, like, should I have a position while I am preparing for step one or step two? Did you find that it made it harder for you to prepare, or do you think that it was able to keep you in the loop a little bit more?
So for me, it was very challenging to do both things at the same time. So what I would recommend, it all depends, like there are some people that need 6 months to prepare for the test, and that is fine. So if you need like 6 months and you're sure you're gonna take the test, I would say just focus on that and take it. And I think for people who are like me and need a little bit more time to prepare, so then I would say just do something else too, because this way you can also get your mind out of the step one studying,
Yeah.
and you can also like relax doing something else.
Yeah, and it also helps keep you like relevant. So when it comes
The-
time and they're like,
yeah.
hey, it took like you're like, oh, well, I was also getting these skills and that type of thing, right?
Yes, because they always, at least in my experience, they always ask you what were you doing during this time.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's not good to say, oh, I was just studying for the steps, for example, or like things like this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So you went through that process, and so when did you decide, like, was this your first match cycle, or have you
Yes.
been okay?
No, this was my first match cycle. Thankfully, I think I got very lucky. And also, I was like really working towards this, like preparing. I wanted to to apply for the match whenever I am fully like ready. I have everything. So during this time, because I have a gap from 2017 to now, so it's some years, but I just made sure that during this time, I passed my step 1, step 2 in my first attempt. So it was good, both of them. Just if you want to know, step 1, I took it when I was pass or fail, because I was dealing with a lot of like test anxiety, and it was hard for me. So then that's why I waited just to take it when it was pass or fail. And then for the step 2, I was much calmer because I knew how the test looks. So it was good. And at the same time, I was involved later in clinical research. That is what I'm doing until now. I was also doing like some tutoring lessons for step 1 that I had like, I did it like with 3 students. And I worked as a clinical coordinator also in this time. And I was
Wow.
also volunteering as a translation, like from English to Spanish in a medical environment.
So that's a good thing though, and this is what I always say, is that a good candidate is actually a well-rounded candidate, right? It's not someone who is just has amazing, like you have everything, you have the best scores, you have this and that. I think it's also showing that like you are passionate and curious enough to want to grow, and you knew that you wanted to take the time before you went into your step 1 and step 2. You knew that it was better for you to not just rush it, because obviously it served you in the end. I mean, you ended up matching, so I mean, congratulations. Like that
Yes,
must be
thank
very
you.
exciting. Your clinical research position, do you mind asking, and if I ask like how did you get that? Was it connections? Did you use a service?
Yes. So during this time, I also did my clinical rotations. So all of them, I did it in pediatrics just because I already knew that I wanted to do pediatrics. So while I was doing one of my rotations here, I did all of them in the Houston area, because just like a background of that, I am married and my husband is doing surgery at UTMB in Galveston. So I wanted to stay in the area. That's why all my rotations were here in like Houston, Galveston area. And so when I was doing one of those rotations in one of the clinics, they had the research department. And so I knew I wanted to do something else. I would like to get involved in something like that. So I asked, and they had a position open for a clinical research coordinator. And then I just applied and I got into it.
Oh, awesome. That's exciting. So that's nice. So too, so you're good to be close to your husband now. So did you like have a little bit of connection with the program? Did you have an idea that this was the program that you wanted to end up with?
Yes. So we applied all over the United States, and I was lucky enough I had like 15 interviews, so it was a good amount. But
Yeah.
this was the program that I wanted to be because my husband is there. So yes, I had connections. Like my husband was the number 1 connection there. I had some friends as well. I made some friends like in the pediatrics department. So that helped me also because they guide me and they helped me as well. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously your application stands on its own. It's not like you could get it without it. But I always, it does help. Like people ask, like, oh, how connections always help. I mean, in the sense of just like even networking and trying to reach out to people who are IMGs that maybe you don't even know, just saying like, hey, do you have an opportunity or something that I could help you with, or advice that you would give me? Because it does help you, and it does help you also get the guidance. You have a better perspective of what a program's looking for, what to expect going into it, that kind of thing.
Yes, it doesn't mean like if you have a connection, they will take you for sure, but at least it gives you an opportunity for them to notice you maybe. And if they like you enough, they will give you the opportunity for an interview and then to match if you're a great fit for the program.
Exactly. Touching on interviews, you said you had 15 interviews. That's amazing. How did you prepare for that?
So I prepared with my husband. I was practicing with him. I was also I reached out IMGs from Ecuador, And because I just felt like maybe they know how I feel, like
Yeah.
where I'm standing. So I had a great guide. It was an IMG from Ecuador. He already finished pediatrics and everything, so he was the one that guided me, and I basically practiced with him and then my husband, and just like repeating myself. I was just practicing talking by myself before the interview. I used to write down the questions I want to ask. Like this, I did it like I organized myself in a way that I had some questions for the program director. I had some questions for the associate program director, like depending on the person that was going to interview me.
Mhm.
So at the moment of the interview, I was ready and I had all the questions written down. And yeah, so this is what I did. And even during the interviews, I think it's okay to say, oh, I'm sorry, I have here, like I wrote down some questions for you, and then you can just check real quick and ask.
I think it's a great thing to do because it shows that you care. Like it shows that you've
Mhm.
taken the time to look into the program, that you're invested enough in the possibility of matching there that you want to make sure that it's a good fit. Because it's not just about showing them that you like it. You want to make sure that you also are going to be happy at this program.
Yes, exactly. That's the one of the most important things that I think candidates need to think of, is a place that you're gonna be happy and that you really, really like.
I completely agree. This is something that comes up a lot in these type of interviews that I do with candidates, or usually people who matched, is that it really needs to be about what's going to be a good fit for you. I think that it's so competitive, and it's always great to say like, oh, I matched into this really prestigious program or this and that, but at the end of the day, it really needs, like, it's hard to go through residency, so you want to make sure that you're going to be supported and happy wherever you are.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's one of the most important things.
I agree. So now that you've matched, like, what are you looking forward to the most?
So I'm really excited about finally starting residency. Like I know it's gonna be hard, but I'm still very excited. I'm looking forward. So I still don't know what I want to do afterwards. I like a few specialties. So
Mhm.
I am just for now, I'm just looking forward to start and make sure what I really like and focus on that. Like just to prepare then for applying to fellowships. That is what's next.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, one step at a time, right? Take the time
Yeah.
to celebrate your success, the fact that you've come this far, you've achieved a successful match. Like, I'm very happy for you. And I know that maybe some people who are going to be watching this, maybe you didn't match. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that and say that doesn't mean that a match isn't going to be in your future. It doesn't mean that you're not an amazing doctor. Unfortunately, sometimes things play out that way. And you never know, like maybe, like you said, maybe time just needs to be taken to work on your application. Like maybe there was something that you rushed into, or there's something you could improve on. Take this time, maybe study for step 3 or look for experience, try to make connections like we've talked about. What would you tell a candidate who's getting ready to go into the 2025 match?
So I would tell them to focus. I think it's very important to have clinical experience. You need to do rotations. You need to have, I would say, at least 3 rotations in order for you to get letters of recommendation, because that was another thing that was very important for me. The letters that I got were really, really good. So in some of the interviews, they congratulated me for the things that people said about me in the letters. So it was like very, very nice and very fulfilling. So I think that's one good thing. Like you need to get good letters of recommendation. And I don't mean even like letters from a university or something like this, like in any place you do, because as an IMG is very hard also to find rotations. So I used in my case, just talking about this, I used some of the companies that offer
Mhm.
rotations,
Yeah,
because as an IMG and all graduate is already like hard to find something like an
yeah,
observership that is for free or something like this. So I needed to pay in this case.
yeah.
But then you can get a letter of recommendation if they see that you are good. And I think that's one of the most important things. Another important thing that I would tell to the future candidates is to work on the interviewing skills, because this helps you also a lot. Like, I think once you get the interview, it doesn't matter the score that you had, or if you had a lot of research or publications or not. It just matters your personality, and if they like you, if they think you are a great fit to work with the team. So I would say that's another thing. Like,
Really good
I
advice.
yes, I used to get very nervous when talking in public, speaking in public. And I think that's why I was trying to just practice with myself and just talking and talking, because that helps you just loosen up a little bit. And then when the time of the interview comes, you are a little bit more confident and you already know what to say.
I love that. No, and I think that you touch on some really good points there, right? Like, clinical experience is invaluable because your letters of recommendation are one of the most important parts of your application. Like, it's the only way for them to get to know you from a different perspective than what you're saying, like, without actually talking to you. I do think that strong letters of recommendation and making sure that they are specialty specific as well are really important. Like, I'm sure yours probably touched on why you would be great in pediatrics because of these skills that you possess, like something like that. And then, like you said, also with interviews, I mean, like we touched on before, I think going in authentically yourself is really important. And a lot to do that is practicing so that you don't get in there and you're not really nervous and you don't blank and you don't think like, oh, well, I'm not worthy of this. Like, keep in mind that while it is hard for an IMG, and maybe if you are an older grad or you don't have great scores, or maybe it was a lower score, like it was a retake or whatever, it doesn't actually determine who you are as a doctor. You really need to be clear about why you're passionate about doing this, why you think you're a good fit, and why you would be interested in that program. Like, don't just go in giving answers that you think they want to hear. Don't just go in trying to prove yourself. Like, have a conversation with them, express who you genuinely are, talk about your hobbies, and like, these are the things that they want to know, because it is a personal experience to decide that they want to bring you in for residency. I mean, you're going to be spending a lot of time together.
Yes, exactly. That's really, really important, just to be yourself. And even like most of my interviews, what I was asked is mostly things about myself, like just to get to know me. No, not like you don't have to really get nervous about other things. Like, they're not gonna ask you. They do ask you if you have a gap. They do ask you what did you do during that time.
Yeah.
But I think that's a fair question. Like, you just need to, in like any candidate that is applying now that has a gap, I would say during this last year, because there's okay, it's not 1 year, September is coming, but you still have time to do some rotations or get into like a volunteering. I think they also like a lot to people who volunteer. Like,
I
it
agree.
can be translation or it can be anything really, just something that shows that you are passionate about something and that you like to stay active as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think that volunteer work goes a long way in showing like the fact that you want to give back to the community, which is a big part of also residency. People want to think that when you come and they train there, they are hoping that there's a potential you want to stay in that area and then help them with their community and give back, because ultimately, like, that's what we're all looking for, right? Is that support. So I think showing that you really are someone that dedicates your time, who thinks things through, it does go a long way on your application.
Yes, yeah. That's true. And there was something else I wanted to say. Oh yeah, about the location. Like, when choosing a program, I think it's very important that you apply to programs that you know you're gonna be happy, and that you like the area, you like the places around you. Like, if for you it's important to have like your family or your friends or connections there. So I think that's a very important factor when you are choosing a program. And also it's very important to stay to have an open mind about going somewhere else, because also if you close yourself just to a a region or something, it also decreases your chances to match. But I would say that's very important as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good point. Keeping an open mind, like understanding what your future would look like and what you need in order to be happy. Yeah, do you need to be near family? Do you need to have friends nearby? Is there something that you do require? Do you feel like you need to be in a more diverse population? Do you not want to be maybe like in like a really rural area? Like that's okay, but just keep in mind that when you do those things, it is going to limit you a bit. So really just tailor your application in that way. I think like for you, it was good. Like you knew that that area was going to be good for you because your husband was there. So you made sure to get experiences there. You made connections there. And that's why you went that way. But I think, you probably would have been open to another opportunity had it not gone that way.
Yes. Yeah. We did we actually couples matched, and we applied like all over the country. Like we applied to all the states just because we like as long as we matched, we would be very, very happy. Now
Mhm.
we are even happier that we are here in Galveston in the place we wanted to be. So it worked out. And also I wanted to say that when I came a year ago to Galveston, I did not have any connections. So it's not like I had friends like from years and that's how
Mhm.
people get into residency. No, like it's like you come to a new place and you just have to try to meet people who can guide you and give you like a better uh, advice, and that way you can tailor your application and make it better like the way you want.
And do you feel like you made a lot of your connections through your experience while working there? Would you say? I'm just curious for people who ask how would they in your position, like how would they go about doing something like that?
Yeah, so I would say because of the rotations I did, like you meet other students who are rotating in the same place, so
Mhm.
that helps. And also I was trying to reach out the program to get a rotation there. Maybe that didn't work out for me, but maybe it works out for other people.
Mhm.
In other programs, like you can also always reach out to them and ask if they offer an observership or like something like, I don't know if hands-on, but at least an observership is something that is feasible and people can get. And the other thing about connections, just like if you know someone, let's say someone from your country, you can just reach out to them and maybe they have other person that they know in the area that you want, and that's how you can get to
I
meet
love
more
that.
people.
Um, Really quickly, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you have to get back to work. But I didn't realize that you couples matched actually. So
Yes, I'm sorry, I
how was
didn't
that
mention.
experience for you? No, that's
So
okay. No,
that was very,
a
very
lot of questions
stressful.
about couples match. So I really quickly would love if you could share like what that was like.
Yeah, so it is challenging, but I think it's very important. Like, if you really want to stay with your partner, like
Mhm.
in the same area, I would recommend to do it. I have a lot of friends that they did match. Like, most of them are Americans. So
Mhm.
I was in my, I was wondering if as an IMG, I'm going to be successful during the couples match. So in my case, my husband applied to gynecology and I did to pediatrics. Unfortunately, he did not match, but he was doing a preliminary surgery year already at UTMB.
Mhm.
And he was lucky enough to get offered to go to the PGY2 position and stay in the program. So, yeah, so it was like a win anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's challenging. Couples match is challenging, it's scary, but it's worth it if you want to stay in the same area. Like if that's something that
Yeah.
is not negotiable, let's say.
Yeah, and it worked out because probably do you think the fact that you matched there helped motivate the fact that they wanted to give him the PGY2 position, or do you think that that's not correlated?
No, actually he got the offer before already. So
Oh, okay.
that's why, yeah, that's why I knew I want to stay in this area because he applied to gynecology, but he knew that he loves surgery. So he
Mhm.
didn't really mind staying. He wanted just to give it a try because he was like,
Wanted to give it
this
a
is
shot.
what he planned for him like before. So he wanted to give it a shot. It didn't work out, but he already got the offer before. And
Okay,
yes,
awesome. So yeah, I see then. Oh, that's exciting though. I mean, it worked out in the end, so I'm really
yes.
happy for you guys.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really happy too and excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about it. I know that everyone's going to want to, well, to check in again. I know everyone's going to know how it starts out and how it's going.
Yes. Yeah, I would say that everyone that is applying now, like, don't give up. Like, I can promise you that with perseverance and patience, and if you just don't give up, everything's gonna go work out. Like, if it's not at the first time, it will be at the second or the third time, but you're gonna make it and
And
achieve
I,
everything.
I agree. And all those people, like I've seen messages coming in and I'm so sorry. We see people, a lot of they're like, I'm so heartbroken. I did not match, or, I got no interviews. I don't understand. What can I do? First of all, I want you to show yourself some love because it's really hard to go through the application process. Not only is it like incredibly expensive, it's also very time consuming and it's mentally draining to be that anxious about something. So just be proud of yourself for going through that and showing the commitment and the dedication to seeing that process through. It's not an easy one, first of all. Second of all, really analyze your application. Think about what can I do in this time? Like you said, they have until September right now. Maybe it's just, finding someone from your country that you can reach out to. Maybe it's looking for an observership. Maybe it's volunteering, or maybe studying to take your step 3 and taking your step 3. Like, it doesn't need to be that you're heartbroken. It doesn't need to be the end of your journey, and you don't need to be so disappointed in yourself because there's so much of this application process that is incredibly out of your control. I just say look at it as a learning experience.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it is. And yeah, we just have to keep moving forward. And I am sure like everything works out at the end,
I
even if it takes some time, but at the end, like we are all able to achieve our dreams.
I completely agree. Well, I'm so grateful you could join us today. I think this was such a great interview. I think that people are going to be really inspired by it, and hopefully we'll help them go through the match a little bit more with some clarity rather than panicking.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I hope this helps. I hope they like the interview, and I really enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you very much for the opportunity as well.
I love talking to you. It was so nice. I love this series and you being my first one of the official match, and like I just love it. You got such a nice smile. Like
Oh,
everyone's
thank
gonna love it.
you.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everyone who is going to be watching this. You know that you can always send us a message. You can email us at support@matchyourresident. I'm sure that Jessie is going to be willing to take your messages as well, too. We will tag her in this video. And nice talking to you, everybody. Here we go. Another season coming up.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.